In this video, Dr. Steenbarger, one of the world's top trading psychologists to lead prop traders and hedge funds around the world, discusses how to use the art of visualization to quickly improve your trading. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, and we're a proprietary trading firm in New York City with numerous highly successful traders, almost all of whom have started their trading careers with S&B. We hope you find this channel to be a terrific place to learn and grow as a trader.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm pleased to join Justin for this video on how we can use visualization as a technique to help us better our trading. Before I get into the topic of visualization, let me mention my own background. My name is Brett Steenbarger, and I teach at a medical school as well as work with traders in financial markets. And at the medical school where I teach, there's an emphasis on what is called evidence-based medicine. What that means is when you make treatment decisions, those decisions are based on objective evidence, that there's research that supports the use of these techniques. A doctor is not just doing something with you because they have an opinion about what to do. They're doing it because there is solid research saying this is the best treatment for your condition. Well, psychology can be every bit as evidence-based as medicine. And what we find when we study psychological research is that there are particular techniques that have objectively been found to help us with problems of anxiety, problems of frustration, problems of negative mood. And we can use this research and the techniques studied by this research to help ourselves overcome some of these challenging emotions in our trading careers. So one of these very successful techniques supported by quite a bit of research is visualization. It's used very much in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. And the reason for its usage is also what makes it valuable in a trading context. Visualization is a substitute for real-world experience. Let's say I'm a person who has an anxiety problem. Maybe I have a phobia. I have a phobia to dogs. I'm afraid of dogs, okay? And I need to work on some techniques to overcome my fear of dogs. Well, I could go out and face situations where there are dogs, maybe go to a kennel or go to a neighbor who has a dog. And that could be useful if I practice some coping techniques while I do that. But another way of approaching it in the cognitive behavioral way is that before I do that real world exposure, before I expose myself to actual dogs, I can do it in imagery.
If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our professional traders use, including the simple but highly effective setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free online trading workshop that we're currently running. This is a 100% free, intensive workshop where you're going to learn more in a couple of hours than from years of online education. So don't miss it.
Through visualization, I can imagine different scenarios of facing dogs, and sure enough, I'll feel some of that anxiety, I'll feel some of that fear, and I can practice coping techniques for overcoming that fear. So what the visualization allows me to do psychologically is achieve many more reps. I get much more practice dealing with challenging situations because I'm facing it again and again and again in imagery, in visualization, which prepares me for dealing with it in real life? Well, this is particularly effective in trading situations, it turns out, that we can not only identify what to do in our trading, we can visualize doing that. We can visualize challenging trading situations and practice how we want to handle them. And we can do that outside of market hours again and again and again. And sure enough, that practice with visualization translates into improved performance in real life situation. Let me mention one other quick point about visualization. It sounds like a very specialized technique, but the reality is that all of us, all of the time, use visualization. We always imagine things. We imagine good things happening to us. We imagine bad things happening to us. Many, many, many times when we have negative emotions in our trading, it's because we're doing negative visualization. If I'm worrying about losing money, if I am visualizing myself as such an idiot for stopping out of a trade that continues to go my way, I am actually using visualization to increase my negative psychology. When we create negative images in our head, we respond to that, and we're actually using cognitive behavioral therapy in reverse. We're actually training ourselves to think and feel negatively. So what Justin's going to be introducing, and that I'm excited about, is a way of harnessing the visualization that we're already doing and using that in a concrete trading situation to help us deal with the emotions of the trade and with what the market is doing during the life of that trade. Justin, take it away.
Thank you so much for that intro, Dr. S. It's very informative. So now I just wanted to go over 2 or 3 examples of how I personally used visualization in my trading. One specific recent example that comes to mind was a recent trade that my team identified and studied. It was a trade where a stock would gap up on earnings. It would hold the gap up. On day 2, it would consolidate while still holding the gap up. So we know that there's someone accumulating shares and prices being accepted. And then on day 3, what would happen is the stock would take out the high and break out and continue higher. We studied this setup, and I identified a stock that was set up perfectly for this. I watched it on day 1. It put in a high, traded a little lower, but held its gap. Day 2, it was consolidating, held its gap. On day 3, it was gapping up slightly, just near that breakout area. And what I did was, I knew that this was a trade that I should be risking up. I should risk more than usual on this trade because my team and I, we've studied it. We've put together examples. We've talked about the best way to trade it. We've talked about profit targets. But now what I wanted to do was I wanted to implement this visualization exercise of what it would look like when I took the trade. So what I did was I sat down in my trading station, and right before the open, 10, 15 minutes before the open, I closed my eyes and I simply visualized and imagined what it would be like when I'm sitting at my desk, I'm watching the level 2 and the time and sales, and what it would look like when I executed when the stock broke that level with larger size. And I visualized 3 outcomes. The first outcome was the best, where it broke out, it continued to move higher, it got to my profit target, and I sold it. Of course, that was a very positive experience, and of course, it was the outcome I wanted, but I also wanted to visualize what it would look like if it didn't work. What would it feel like if I put this trade on and it broke out, and then all of a sudden it got slammed right down and I got stopped out? what would it look like if I put the trade on and it broke out and it retested the breakout area and it kind of consolidated for a little while, and maybe my P&L went from green to red to green, and that happened for a while, but the trade wasn't not working, it was just taking a little more time than I expected. I visualized all three of those scenarios, and in return, that helped me take a big part. It helped me take a lot of the emotions out of the trade. I already understood what it would feel like if it worked right away, what it would feel like if it sort of worked, and what it would feel like if I got stopped out right away. And that helped me accept the risk on the trade. And it helped me rehearse all three of those scenarios. That way, when the trade was triggered and I executed, there were really no surprises for me. I've rehearsed all this. I've seen it all happen already. And that's just one example. And another example I could give is back in March, there was a backside trade setting up. And I know that's one of my most powerful trades, one of my best trades. My stats on that trade are excellent. There was a stock that went from 50 cents to $2 in 3 days, and it was setting up perfectly. So that day, I went ahead and I looked at all the recent examples of backside trades, what were the patterns, and I visualized myself the following day. What would it look like if it's set up like this? What would it look like if it's set up like this and like that? And I was able to simply close my eyes and visualize myself at the trade desk trading each of those three backside setups. That way, when it happened, I was able to put the risk on. The risk, I fully accepted it. I didn't have any hesitations. I didn't have any anxieties because I rehearsed the three scenarios already. And that was a huge, huge help to me. And I think it also helps eliminate any anxieties that you have while you're in the trade. Maybe it's not working right away. Maybe you get in and it goes against you right away, but it doesn't hit your stop. But you've already accepted that. You've already accepted what the larger than usual negative P&L would look like. You've already felt the emotions that you may have felt. And that has just been a huge help for me. And this is something I do on all of my bigger picture ideas. And this is something that I will implement 3 or 4 times a month. Anytime that there's a trade that I've been stalking and it's starting to set up, I will use this visualization technique to help me accept the risk on the trade and help me visualize really what the trade is going to look like and feel like. And it makes all the difference.
Justin, if I could just jump in with a comment on what you said, you raised some really good points, but one point I think is particularly important for our viewers, and that is that when you visualize again and again and again, you take the emotion out of the situation. When something becomes very familiar to us, it can't throw us emotionally. And so you're using the visualization to become very familiar with positive scenarios, negative scenarios, so nothing in the trade comes as a surprise. And that allows you to stay focused and stick with your plan.
100%. And that has been the biggest help and the biggest takeaway from implementing visualization in my trading.
That was excellent, Justin. You make so many good points. One thing I just want to add to what you said is that the power of what you're doing is not only in how many visualizations you perform, but in how you do the visualization. When we make visualization vivid, when we make it as lifelike as possible, as true to real experience as we can, Then we respond to the visualization emotionally and physiologically in our bodies, and that helps make the emotional situation familiar to us and non-threatening. When people have problems with visualization, it's often because they're just kind of skimming through the incident. They're just, imagining in very general terms, okay, it goes up, it goes down, but they're not really making it vivid. They're not making it a substitute for real life experience. That's where the power of visualization comes from.
Do you want more from Dr. Steenbarger, one of the world's top trading coaches? In this video appearing on your screen now, he'll reveal the 6 qualities that every elite trader possesses. Click the video to find out if you have these crucial qualities.